Well, hey, you guys. So you can probably tell by the title of this episode today, but I want to talk about an insanely expensive problem that more Americans need to take seriously. All right. We all know that the national debt is out of control and people are living paycheck to paycheck because of their debt payments. But according to a recent CNBC report, a certain kind of debt went up by 1,100% in just 2 years. So today I want to unpack this so that you can be aware of what's happening. And I also want to offer some solutions for you to try. And stick around till the end because I'll share the number one way you can avoid this marketing trap that almost always evolves into debt. All right, first and foremost, let's do a little news update with Rach. You ready? So if you've shopped online at any point in the last few years, I'm sure you have seen buy now, pay later options at checkout. Buy now, pay later is an alternative pay option where you can actually postpone the full payment and stretch it out over 4 installments. AKA you're going into debt when you're doing that. And usually it gives you the option, to pay the total over the course of several weeks or even months. And like most money traps, initially you're like, well, that's pretty helpful, isn't it? But remember, you guys, everything is a business, and most retailers aren't sitting around thinking of ways they can just help you and make your life easier and not do anything good for themselves. Let's be honest, they are thinking how they are going to make money because they are sitting around thinking, okay, if we can get this customer to spend more money more and more often, that's good for us. So that is why services like Klarna or Afterpay have become so popular. Remember, over 1,100% more popular. Like we said earlier, just continues to increase. And listen, they are winning because you are buying things with money that you don't have. And you feel like you're winning because you don't have to lay down a lump sum of cash right there at checkout. So now some of you might be thinking, but Rachel, it's 0% down. I mean, what is the harm? Listen, all debts, okay, regardless of what the interest rate is, regardless of what the payment installments are, it is all a trap to get you to spend more money. That's what it is. Even people that have a credit card and say, well, I paid off at the end of the month. Statistically speaking, they spend more throughout that month than if you just paid with your own money. And the same is true with buy now, pay later. You may not see all like the fees or the interest or all of that up front, even though some of these you get charged that later if you miss a payment. But overall, you're just thinking, well, this is good for me. But what happens is that you, over time, pay for these things. And on the front end, statistically, you're going to spend more, add more to your cart, believing that, okay, I can just take this one installment and I'm fine, and I'll be fine over the next 4 months. So you end up spending more. It's psychology. It's what we see. But when you spend your own money, you guys, there's something about saying, okay, I only have this much to spend, and that's what you spend, and that's it, which is beautiful. Now, people love to argue with Ramsey and feel like we overreact to things sometimes, but even major news outlets like CNBC are calling this out. In their words, it said, where there are loans, there is debt, and households are in more debt than we even know. And since this is relatively a new form of debt, economists are still trying to wrap their heads around the scope of this payment trend. But again, the numbers are astronomical. So currently, it's a $50 billion industry, but by 2028, buy now, pay later transactions could reach $687 billion. So clearly, this is a growing issue in real people's bank accounts. And over time, again, it is normalizing this new type of debt, and the consequences are getting worse. So now that we've broken down some facts, and before I share my number one tip down the slippery slope, let's talk about a few things that I want you to keep in mind. Number one, just because there is no official paperwork doesn't mean that it's harmless. So it can just feel okay because it's just right there at checkout. It's no big deal, right? Okay, I'll just take it over 4 different payments. But again, what you're forgetting about is, technically you are in debt. And if you miss some of those installments, depending on the company, there's back interest that has to be paid. There are more fees, more charges. All of this occurs if you miss a payment. And again, just the idea that when you spread it out over 4 payments, you're going to end up spending more. So it may feel harmless because it's just there at checkout, but it is a form of debt. Number 2, businesses are not going to try just to help you out of the goodness of their hearts, okay? They are trying to make money. And when they see that they can make money, aka you are spending more money because of services like buy now, pay later, they are going to promote those services. So you're going to see them more and more and more. You're going to see more companies starting this. You're going to see it more at checkout when you're doing online shopping because they are making a crap ton of money. off of you. And so they're succeeding and they're going to keep doing it. Number 3, if you don't have all the money that you need today to afford something all at once, you can't afford it. And there's an old quote that broke people would ask, okay, well, just how much a month? And wealthy people ask, well, how much in total? And again, you may be thinking, well, of course, wealthy people would ask that because they have the money for it. But the idea is that you're in this mind pattern of saying, hey, if I don't have the money for it, I'm not going to buy it. Because again, statistically speaking, you spend more with just the total amount when you go in payments, and you end up spending more on interest. So getting your mindset set to this idea of, hey, I'm actually going to start making changes in my life and put habits in my life that's going to help me win with money long term and not just stay in this cycle of thinking month to month. And it really does help break that paycheck to paycheck cycle as well. All right, number 4, who wants to pay for something that they've already used or that they're not fond of anymore? Kind of like what we just talked about. It's this idea that you may buy something and then 2 months later, the season changes, you're kind of bored of it, and you're still paying on it. Even worse, you think about food that you've already eaten and you're still paying on it. A movie that you've already seen and you're still paying on it. I mean, that's what ends up happening. We already are instant gratification creatures of habit. It's just like, oh my gosh, can I have this now? Okay. And then you look up 2-3 months later, and it's like, oh yeah, I bought that thing. And you kind of forget about it. The excitement has dissolved and you're still paying on it. So again, save up and pay for things. Okay, so what do we do with all this info? Well, my number 1 tip for avoiding buy now, pay later is sticking to a monthly budget. This is it. Anytime we talk about spending money, you guys, I would probably always bring it back to the budget because it is the thing that you have to have. It is the spending plan that you have to be intentional with your money. And it allows you then to spend within your means. It allows you, I think, to be a responsible adult and to know, here's my limit, here's my boundary. But within that, you can enjoy it. You can have money set aside. I'm not saying to never go online and go shopping. But when you do it, you say, okay, yeah, here's the money that I have. And you can actually have more freedom spending it than the burden of thinking, oh gosh, can I afford this? Is this okay? And all the questions come up. You do it guilt-free, and it's way more enjoyable to live your life financially like that. So if you need a tool to help you when it comes to budgeting, EveryDollar is my favorite budgeting app. You can go to everydollar.com/Rachel and check it out, and you can actually create your first budget for free. And again, it's right there on your phone, and you're able just to, it's with you every day, every hour of the day to help you stay on track financially. So whether you are a first-time budgeter or a lifelong budgeting pro, again, make sure to check out my episode on 4 ways that you're ruining your budget without realizing it. That's next. All right, you guys, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.